Hello, and welcome to Know Before You Go, a program of the Dominican Central Province of St. Albert the Great that allows us to take a look ahead at the upcoming weekend's readings. I am Father Jim Marchionda, Provincial of the Chicago Dominicans, and I am happy to be with you as we approach the third Sunday of Lent. This Sunday we are dealing with Cycle B readings. Now, if you go to a church where they have people preparing for the sacrament of baptism on Holy Saturday night, or if you live stream a Mass where they are doing the same, you will have the Cycle A readings, in which the gospel is the story of Jesus and the Samaritan woman at the well. But for us, we have Cycle B readings. The first reading is from the book of Exodus, about the 10 Commandments. The second reading from St. Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, and the third reading from the second chapter of the Gospel of John. If you would like to experience a preaching about Cycle A readings, I'll refer you to the link at the bottom of the page, where you can go to Retreat at Home, where Father Andrew Carl Wisdom preached on the woman at the well. When we deal with the readings that we have today from Exodus and 1 Corinthians and John, on this third Sunday of Lent, we are being invited more deeply into the real spirit of Lent. We're being invited to really get serious about Lent, if we haven't already to this point. We're being invited in an instructive way, and then we're being given a pretty strong challenge. The instruction comes beautifully from the first reading of the book of Exodus, in which we receive the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments represent the holiness of God as it is lived out in the holiness of God's people. We see that first in the first 3 commandments, which are all about our right relationship with God. The first being that there is no God but ours. The second, that you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. And the third, that you shall keep holy the Sabbath. The first 3 commandments are all about our right relationship with God. But the remaining 7 are about right relationship with one another. That you shall honor your father and mother. You shall not kill. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife or goods. You know all of those commandments by heart. And between them, they are about right relationship with God in the first 3, and right relationship with one another in the remaining 7. And together, they give us everything we've learned from Jesus Christ, that the 2 greatest commandments are love of God and love of neighbor. And on all of these, on these 2, all of the other commandments rest. There's a way in which that first reading from the book of Exodus is so clear, isn't it? It's informative, it's instructional, it's clear, it's a little bit black and white. Just follow these precepts and you will be fine. But then we get to the Gospel of John, and it's almost like everything gets turned upside down. The Gospel of John is the account of Jesus cleansing the temple, as it is described. And you know that story pretty well. Passover was near, so Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem. And when he gets to the temple area, he finds in the temple precincts oxen and sheep and doves and money changers and their tables. And John's gospel says he makes a whip out of cords and he drives them out. He's seemingly very, very angry, unlike the Jesus we've known in other passages of Scripture. He drives them out. He spills the coins. He turns over their tables. He's somewhat in a rage, and he yells out, "Stop making of my Father's house a marketplace." He's furious. And the scripture says they are reminded of the passage from Jeremiah, zeal for your house will consume me. The Jews that are around there asked Jesus for a sign. Give us a sign of why you've got the authority to do something like this. And then you know the line, he says, destroy this temple and in 3 days I will raise it up. And they say, you're crazy. It took 46 years to build this temple and you're going to raise it up in 3 days? And of course we know that he was talking about the temple of his own body, not the temple that was before them. This is a very challenging gospel, and it takes some thinking on our parts. Jesus is confronting the temple custodians for making it a marketplace. Now, what they were doing was legitimate. What they were doing was supplying to all the people that were coming from far away. They were supplying them a way to be able to purchase their animals for sacrifice. And because they were coming from different locations, they didn't all have the same currency. Changing their money was a very valid thing, especially when you came to offer sacrifice in the temple. But Jesus could tell that they had turned what should have been a righteous, service-oriented thing into something about themselves, their own well-being, their own profit, their own growth. They're taking advantage of the temple for their own gain. And that really got Jesus angry. He saw to the heart of the matter. He saw to the heart of the matter. And one of the scripture commentators says, this is not a condemnation of buying and selling of animals. It's much more serious than that. Jesus is criticizing and condemning the whole temple system because it has gone off the mark. My friends, that's a very important message for us to receive in terms of this third Sunday of Lent. You and I are invited to look at whole systems that have gone off the mark and no longer serve the people of God, but serve selfish interests, taking advantage of others for selfish personal gain. We have signs all around us in the world today, don't we? Don't we have signs all around us of systems that are no longer serving the people of God, no longer serving the world, no longer serving God in the way that systems should be serving God? There's injustice all around. And we've been being made aware of it in our country for years now. We are being challenged in a way that we have not yet experienced in these Lenten readings. Another of the commentators spoke about this gospel passage, and I found it very interesting. His name is Father Paul Schmidt from Franciscan Media. And listen to the strong words that he has to share with us. He says, a virus of sin more deadly than the dreaded coronavirus has infected us. And then he names them: racism, greed, prejudice, polarization, violence. These vices touch us all in some way. Worst of all, he says, we have experienced wickedness and division in our own church, among our leadership and among people in the pews. These evils call for extraordinary penance and radical renewal. He goes on to say, it is scary to face the individual and societal reformation we need, requiring a change of heart, not some superficial window dressing. Examining our conscience in preparation for a good celebration of the sacrament of reconciliation can really help. But more than routine ritual is required. We need the bravery and the grace to look deeper. We need to take responsibility for what is going on in the world. We need to take Lent very, very seriously this year. I agree with him. I agree that these readings, this witness of Jesus in the Gospel of John, is an invitation to us to take Lent very seriously. We are only at the third Sunday of Lent, the third week of Lent. Let's take a good look at how we're observing Lent so far. Are we where we think we should be? I believe, my friends, that today's scriptures are raising the bar on the entire meaning of our Lenten observances. It is very, very serious. I think to when I used to give up chocolate. Chocolate just doesn't cut it. It's so much more serious than that. Jesus demands a complete change of heart. That's what we're experiencing in this gospel. Jesus demands a complete change of heart. The question is, can we do it? The answer is, of course we can. Of course we can. God bless you.